What's up, off-axis podcast listeners, or lack thereof?
Listener.
But maybe there's two.
Hopefully, by now there's two.
We got a treat today, changing gears a little bit.
Yeah, a huge resume to go over. We went over on time a little bit, but that's okay because no one restricts us. But we have our buddy Robbie in who has done everything under the sun, and we got some Applebee's samplers. Sean, did you have some of those? What was it?
Yeah, I tried it out, man. The Applebee's is incredible, like always.
Applebee's, Mooresville, Jennifer's there.
Yep.
Let's say Applebee's once more.
Really appreciate Applebee's.
Nice.
Applebee's
sampler. For all their great food.
We need a coupon code for somebody to go get free chips or something. I don't know. In the future, I'll work on that.
So anybody, everybody, wake surfing, gas man, Robbie's got a long list of resume. We go over off-road racing, stadium trucks, the car rally, kart,
Africa,
IndyCar, NASCAR, and most importantly is the stuff he's doing now. So give it a listen, and you guys will not be disappointed.
Buckle up and listen to the entire thing too, because
it's a little long, but it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's insane. So make sure you listen to it all.
You're listening to the Off Axis Podcast.
Does anyone want to say something to Cole because he's not here?
I'm wearing his headset.
I feel like we trash talk him every week. He's not here.
I want to say something to him.
Go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Cole, because that puts me back on this deal. So take off as many weeks as you want, man, because I enjoy being here. So.
Oh, Sean's
I saw
back.
Cole
Sean's
on
back.
Saturday night at the dirt track.
How was he?
He was acting like he was working.
Acting.
So I don't know, but the video he put out this week was good.
All those videos are top notch.
They were good.
Which he still owes me one.
You just get him to do it.
Yeah.
But once he does it, it's really good.
He's taking a day off at Top Golf today, guys. So.
It's rough.
Yeah.
How did Gator do down there?
He started on the pole last night, actually, for the big race.
Nice.
So, I think
Where he finished
he
fourth or
Yeah,
seventh?
top five. I think he
Fourth.
finished fourth, maybe. I don't know.
Well, that's good.
They have I don't know, the way they do things down there, the redraw and all that. You kind of.
It's not easy to beat Strickler and
Nick Hoffman.
They're really good at what they do.
They're all very good.
And they do it all the time.
Yes. Probably 100 times a year.
So we have Sean here again, third time, right?
Third time, yeah.
Big time.
Third time's a
He's
charm.
basically a part of the family now. And then we have Robby Maschhaupt.
I knew you were going to play on
What
that.
nationality is that?
I am Dutch Indonesian with a German last name.
Yeah, my name's German.
Dutch Indonesian.
Yeah. Pacific Islander. I check other.
Yeah, right.
I used to always see on pit road and be like, I hope we never get in a fight. This big Samoan dude is going to kick somebody's butt.
I'm one of the petite people in my family.
I thought you were from Hawaii with how much surfing you did.
I love the water.
Easy.
Gosh.
Now, did you grow up on the water? On the
I grew
West
up in
Coast?
Huntington Beach, California. And
Cold water.
Yeah, it was a probably average of somewhere between 58 and 62 all the time. Always suiting it up. Yeah, we used to go surfing every morning before school, and then you go to school and you're writing on your paper like this, and the nose drip. Oh man.
Oh yeah. Golly.
And then my
cold.
parents have had a house in Havasu forever, and so I've always had the water bug my whole life.
I feel like this is a job interview because no one has ever sent us an entire email with their entire
Because you asked.
resume. I know it was very nice of you. I'm loving it because we have a lot of.
I'm usually the one who does research. Is what are you
Yeah,
getting at?
I'm just saying. Yeah,
So
so
I'm usually
we
the
all
one to ask
have
questions.
we all have printouts here of your entire racing career, and
2 pages.
Yeah, it is 2 pages long. Because I was like, whoa, we're gonna fill this hour, no problem. So yeah, I kind of feel like a job interview, man. I just feel like I'm evaluating your life.
And I feel like a race car driver.
Yeah, you should, man. You've done a lot of big things. I think you've accomplished more than most race car drivers that I know. So you're pretty high on the list.
Thank you.
So I guess first off, I mean, you started out racing out there in California.
How do you go from Huntington Beach, where that's where Zane Smith's from too? So there's some racers from out
Yeah,
there.
there's
But how do you
plenty
go
from
from surfing every day? Because I did. I may grow up on the beach in New Jersey. It's a little bit more of like paradise over there on the Jersey Shore. But
you guys have all the hot chicks over there.
Oh,
We have all the ugly ones on California.
Yeah.
it's filthy, it's dirty, it's paradise, really, the Jersey Shore. But how do you get into racing out there?
I don't really know how I got into it. I loved race. I surfed all the time, and I played baseball, and I thought I was going to be an athlete, and then I found I didn't have any talent, and a lot of people brought that to my attention. But I always loved racing. Supercross. I mean, it all for me. It seemed like we were the epicenter back then. An off-road. So we had Supercross. We had off-road parks back then. Claude Osteen's, places like that. It was way before Glen Helen. But off-road was huge. The Baja 1000, Parker, Barstow, all those. So it just seemed like that was the way to go. And my dad had it was called Beeline Blueprint. He made blueprint machines before all this CAD stuff and all this cool stuff you have now. And we had a Class 5 buggy, and we raced, and we went and goofed around, and not to the equivalent of what the competition was, but we had fun. And as I grew up and got a little bit older, I met Robbie Gordon, and we raced against each other. We raced, and he had talent I didn't, and I needed a job, and he knew Cal Wells from PPI Motorsports, and I literally started right out of high school sweeping the floors and moved up to parts runner. That was one of my biggest accomplishments of my career at the point.
That was on the kart side.
That was when we were in off-road.
Oh, okay. So PPI had off-road and then kart, which is now IndyCar.
Yeah, so he made parts, and then Mr. McPherson, that owned McPherson Toyota back then, he wanted us to build some trucks for his son, and we did that, and then we decided to build trucks and that's when they hired Ivan Stewart, and then it skyrocketed from there. But that was pre-stadium days.
Did you have the Ivan Stewart off-road game where you stand there, the three of you in the break room?
Oh,
I had high score.
I was told to always buy a rocket boost, never buy anything else.
Yes.
Always buy the rocket boost.
Yeah, we wore our helmets and everything.
They still have that down at that.
I played it down there. I got wore out because I didn't buy rocket boost. I thought I was buying tires, being smart.
When you say raced against them, you were driving behind the wheel?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I sucked. I'm okay in
How'd
off-road.
that start out, though?
Well, in off-road, you have several classes.
Yeah.
So when I say I raced against him, I didn't race against him in the same class.
We were there at the same time.
Yeah.
In the same vicinity.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
What was there 3 classes or was there a bunch
back
of them?
then there was a whole bunch. You had Class 1 back in the day was the fastest guys, unlimited. You got Class 10 that at the time had unlimited suspension, limited horsepower. You had Class 5, which was we were in, kind of a stock Baja bug. And then you had 5.
So was it a buggy or was it a?
Mine was a Baja, like you would see, at Dairy Queen.
Okay.
Heck yeah.
With 3 inches of wheel travel.
Yeah, how rough was that?
Woo!
Back probably still hurts from it.
Yeah.
Golly.
Yeah, that's crazy.
How about the buggies that they used to race in the stadium deal?
Ooh.
That was as cool as they can. I remember watching that growing up.
That was really cool to work it and to see those guys again, like you're talking about. I mean, back then you didn't have the wheel travel or the 18-inch A arms that you have today. They were like 12 inches, and maybe 12 inches of wheel travel, and they're flying out of that peristyle. Nuts.
That'd be
Now you started. So at PPI, is that where you kind of got into the? Was that off-road? Did they have a Mickey Thompson stadium truck team too, or did you?
We started in off-road, and we raced in Parker 400, Baja 500, the 1000, stuff like that. And then Mickey started the Mickey Thompson off-road deal, and then we started building trucks for that. And at first we had Steve Millen and Ivan Stewart, and then we had a third car at one point. Later on in the years, we added Robby Gordon, and back then we won everything. And we considered ourselves off-road Penske West. We were way ahead of our time with the chrome stanchions and carbon fiber crud, and everything was polished, and people barriers, and everything else was, not to disrespect dirt tracks, but you know how at a dirt track it's dirt tracky, right?
Yeah.
This was like IndyCar dirt track.
Right.
It was. He did it right.
Some nice stuff.
Yes.
Dude, they need to bring this stuff back. I've been watching these videos this
Yeah,
afternoon.
Greg has YouTube Mickey Thompson, and it's if you don't know what it is and you're listening, it's the same thing Robbie Gordon has,
Supercross.
super stadium trucks, but it was in the heyday of motorsports, and it is. I'm watching it right now. Those things have that looks like it hurts. What is this?
These trucks
what
are
is
just
this?
bouncing around.
1988
Yeah.
Mickey Thompson off-road
Yeah.
San Diego Grand Prix.
Dude, these
trucks
are
main.
just going through the whoop section.
Yeah, 13 inches of wheel travel. Look at that thing hit every
Gnarly.
time.
Yeah, we
it
gotta
was
put this
brutal.
up for sure.
And,
So
we had like truckloads of body work because you had to replace everything but the frame.
dude, they've done
afterward.
2 laps here, and there's every quarter panel is missing off every truck.
Rubbin was definitely racing back then.
Now, I know it was a little later on, but Is that what like Jimmy Johnson was racing out there? Same kind of thing, right?
Yeah, his brothers still race at Torque Series. And
Jesse.
Stuff, right? Yeah,
Jesse still
Jesse
runs
and Jerry,
some.
I think. So that's cool, man. I mean, it makes me jealous almost that I wasn't around.
It was cool because, like, you see Supercross and how big it is today everywhere.
Yeah.
That's how that Mickey Thompson thing was back then. Supercross was obviously huge back then. But we filled, like, the Rose Bowl, filled the Coliseum, filled all the stadiums. At Jack Murphy at the time, San Diego, it was insane.
I can't imagine, like, walking into a stadium like that and they're just... Like,
and we had our PPI Toyota shirts on.
Yeah, you're walking in with your head
Look
held
at the
high
truck
for
is
sure.
flipped over and they're all just driving around it.
Yeah, there's a truck flipped over in the middle of the track right now.
No, there's two of them.
There's two, and they're just still racing.
It's just a local caution.
Now
we'll get them afterwards.
Now, with this series, what are the notable things that Robbie doesn't do that this series did? Now, Robbie supplies all the trucks where these guys are actually team.
This was so long ago, right? So Walker Evans had a truck back then. Roger Mears had a truck back then. Obviously, Casey's dad. You know, a lot of talent comes from that guy. Who else do we have? Walker Evans.
Now, was Walker Evans' son the one that was paralyzed?
Yes.
And he ran with hand controls.
Mm-hmm.
Evan Evans.
Evan, yep.
And he was a badass.
Bad.
With hand controls.
Ass.
I remember that.
Yep.
That's
Didn't he try
crazy.
to do some pavement stuff at one point?
I don't know. I was too young, but I remember watching him on the highlights of this, like, back when I was a young kid, when there was so much, you know, in the heyday of motorsports, when all those guys were just on TV every weekend.
Back then, like, Cal was so far ahead of his time that, like, we were the first ones to have crew shirts. You know, everybody else had T-shirts on it said Chevy or whatever. We had crew shirts, legit ones with patches all over them. Yeah. It was. They were big time.
Everybody looks like a bunch of rednecks, and you guys show up, look like a Formula One team.
So we won everything, every weekend.
What all did you do on these trucks? Just wrenching or
anything
and everything?
Yeah.
This is before the gas man days, obviously.
Yes, because we filled them before.
You didn't need a pit road stop here.
No. In the desert we did. Fueled there, jacked. We actually, for a little while there during, I don't remember what years it was, 92 maybe or whatever, we had the giant, like 38-inch tires and one big anvil for a lug nut. Big lead hammer trying to take it off.
That's awesome.
Yeah, don't want to go the wrong way either.
Yeah.
So you went from this stuff, or no, you had both all stuff before this, right?
Yeah, we did all that.
Yeah.
We did so really all the off-road stuff started first, and then we went to the stadiums.
Yeah.
And then we did both at the same time, and then Toyota wanted to go IndyCar racing. And Toyota hired us and Dan Gurney, God bless him.
Yeah.
What an icon, man. But he hired us and he hired them, and Toyota said, "You guys, we're going to give you everything. You guys figure out who's going to win, and whoever wins is going to get a long-term contract." And we both did very well at the time, and so we both got to keep it for a long time until CART was no longer. And so we did that for several years, and it was tough in its infancy because those guys that came from what was it called back then? USAC, right?
Yeah, I guess it was a USAC.
And then they had the split, and then they started CART, and you still had all the Chevy teams and Ford teams and all that, and we came in with Toyota. It was tough at first, but it was fun to develop that thing and to get a win in Chicago was huge. I'm telling you, the CART was the schnizzle. We went to Rio, we went to Australia, Germany. It was.
That's cool.
Now, did they have the trucks and the we're saying Indy cars in the same building? Or was it different shops?
We did in Rancho. First, we were in Westminster, California, to start the deal, and then as we got bigger, we moved to Rancho Santa Margarita, which was then like 100 miles from land, right? And now it's like that's where everybody lives and drives to LA. I mean, we had a test track in the parking lot. It was awesome.
I was just looking. You guys had some studs for drivers in that CART deal.
Yes.
I mean, you're looking at Max Pappas, Robbie, Scott Pruitt, Oriole Servia. I mean,
these are not bad names.
No, they're not. That's why I'm surprised. Like, was it just one win while you were there, or
no? We had one win total. We had a lot of podiums, and CART was only around for what, 6 years? Maybe?
Yeah, a couple years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was Paul Tracy in CART or was he IndyCar?
Yep. Both. He was both. But he was
a controversial figure.
Yeah.
Now he's a big figure. Just kidding. I'm chubby too, so I don't want.
That's all right.
No fat jokes.
No.
Paul Tracy, Michael
His
Andretti.
frosted
Yeah,
tips.
we had Ray Hall. All those cats.
Yeah.
It was. So I'm a California chubby surfer kid, and to walk through the paddock in Brazil, let's say, and see all those guys, that's a dream come true.
Yeah, for sure, man.
I've been lucky. Yeah.
Like I said, it just sounds like you've been, that's like what I said. There's just, your resume is insane. That's why I wanted to print it off and kind of put it in front of everyone just to show.
33 years.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. So it just kind of leads into, okay, we did this for a couple years, and then this opportunity shows up, and you're, kind of a hard worker, and
that's debatable.
They put you here, and then it just seems like you've just traveled this road of, whatever you could get your hands on, and you just kept on going. So.
I wanted to be. Everybody wants to be a driver, right? But you find out that you're not talented to do it. But to make a living doing racing in any capacity is legit. And I wanted to be a racer. I didn't want, no offense to anybody, I didn't want to just do one sport. Like the off-road was cool, and it just so happened that we got the IndyCar thing, and then that was cool. And then we came back here to NASCAR, and I'm not trying to get ahead of the game, but just to do all that stuff is just it's unbelievable. A lot of memories, man.
What was one of the coolest races back in the day?
Well,
like the desert stuff, or
there's something in every single thing. Yeah.
That you're just
I drove a chase truck in Fort Cal, right? We raced the Baja 1000. You're up for 40 hours, and your job in a chase truck is to leapfrog. So you'd have truck number 102 was mine, and we'd have 103, and we would leapfrog. And you drive the crud out of that thing safely, because your job is to get to the next checkpoint to be there before him. I'm telling you. So you were like a driver, but a different class, and your job was to get there before him, and then you lay everything out, jack, tire, everything, and then he goes, and then you load it back up. And
how many hours?
It was like the Daytona 24 hours. They were 40-hour days.
Cool.
So the Baja 1000, sometimes it goes point to point every 3 years, I think it is, and sometimes it goes down and comes back San Felipe, and we did probably 3 of the point to point. So you drive all the way down to La Paz, like this, crisscrossing the continent down there, and then you get down there, and it's time to come home, because you've been there for a week and a half pre-running and all that stuff. So it's time to come home. It's tough.
Yeah.
Now when did they do? Didn't they do 1 year Baja 2000?
Yeah, down to La Paz and back, and thank goodness I was gone by then.
Yeah, I was over it.
I didn't realize that's where Gene Haas got his start.
Yeah, he supplied a lot of stuff back there. Man, that guy, I worked for him. Out of all the owners I ever worked for, he's the only one that rode in the truck with me.
He's cool. He was cool. Yeah, I like working for him as well. So then PPI ultimately brought you here into NASCAR.
Yep. Cal got the sponsorship, I guess, because I was from the West Coast. And what was that?
He was touching his microphone.
I moved it.
That was his microphone?
Yeah,
it is.
His attention deficit disorder.
So when you went from kart to NASCAR, did you go, holy shit, these rednecks and these no technology,
especially back then?
You're talking early 2000s. It wasn't all the technology in NASCAR that it is now, coming from something like kart or IndyCar. Were you like, holy crap, what are we working on now?
That's a great question, because I lived it, where I always was fascinated with anything that turned right. So I always taped your I went to Riverside back in the day, but I didn't. I wasn't exposed to it like I am today. But back then, I taped, the road courses. I taped Bristol. I taped Martinsville, Darlington, wherever I was, because I wanted to watch it.
So you didn't watch a mile and a half?
No.
Oh.
Ding, ding.
Still don't.
Wow,
right,
man.
And I thought, I admit, I thought it was redneck.
Right.
Then, when we had talented guys like Christian Fittipaldi, Scott Pruitt, come back here with us. So let me go back one step. So we got some sponsorship. It was back where we were from. We didn't know the big Southern thing, right? So he got the Tide sponsorship. And when we came out here, first we were IndyCar team. We weren't very welcomed. We took we took Tide from Ricky Rudd. Everybody said, well, I wasn't in the room when they handed it to Cal.
Now, what was Ricky Rudd's team? PPC?
I'm not sure, but he had the Tide sponsorship at the time,
I always
wasn't
get
it? Or was it?
I always get PPI and
and PPC
mixed up.
Who was? We need to look that up. Whoever had Tide at the time?
Was it Darrell Waltrip?
Maybe it was.
It was somebody.
Too late for Darrell Waltrip.
But hey, they lost
But when we
Where's
came
Cole?
back here,
What do you call our fact checker?
nobody was happy with us. One, we were an IndyCar team, and we tried to bring some different things here, and so we took that. Then we got McDonald's, and I know we got that from Bill. However, that worked out. We weren't very popular when we first got here, that's for sure. And then Cal believed that the more you paid people, the better talent that you got. I don't know if that's true or not. Little help.
Well, you get what you pay for.
That's what I think.
You got to know what you're paying for, too.
So Cal upped the ante on what people were going to get paid. So he did get some really talented guys. And I'll tell you, I'm not going to change the subject, but a lot of those guys that I came back here with and that were here when Cal hired them all just won a championship with the 78.
Yeah, not a bad gig.
Yeah.
Yeah. The guys that work, some of them on the road, their team manager, Joe Garoni, was the one that hired me back here. Johnny Roden that builds the cars back in Colorado. I mean, there's some talented studs back there that Cal hired when we first came back here. So we weren't very popular when we came here. And then Cal came out. I don't know if you remember, but we had that big giant pit box at the time that was 10 times bigger than anything. I had a lounge behind it. We opened it up like it was engineered.
That's legit.
We opened it up like a closet, and then people could sit here like a suite. And I remember one time the guys were up in the booth and saying, NASCAR's going to have to come out with a template for these things because they're getting too big. and now it would be petite compared to...
Now we have two boxes the size of that.
Yeah. So we came back there to do that. So to answer your question, I did think it was kind of hokey. But then when I came back here and I saw that the guys that I thought were extremely talented, just couldn't drive these. And it was... I love the technology of a $10,000 steering wheel. But when you come back here, this is driver. And I was really impressed with what you guys were doing back here with what you had. And when I saw our guys get out of the car after testing, not even a real race at first, when we first came back,
just
it looked like they got out of a sauna. They never looked like that after a 500-mile race in, Michigan 500. They didn't look like that.
Yeah.
They didn't smell like that. They were driving. And Scott Pruitt said, I'm used to driving a car like this at Michigan, not like this.
Right.
For 4 hours. He said, when our cars do this, you're in the hospital. It was a big learning curve. And I think back then, I still think, correct me if I'm wrong because you guys know more than I do, but Cal was ahead of his time. Like he brought the 7-post back here. He brought a lot of things back here that everybody kind of shunned us at the time and now is implemented.
Yeah, now it's just everyday protocol.
It's just like a nutsert. But I don't know the whole deal there because I'm not in those big meetings, but I drove the 96 truck with Andy Houston, and my first year, I pulled into every track, and I backed out of almost every track because back then, if you didn't make it, you went home. And I remember, racing in Baja and stuff like that. We pull our big rig up, and there's 50 acres around us. I'm pulling up mirror to mirror with these trucks. It was intense, and then you have to back out.
Yeah.
And people, because I drive the truck as well for all this time, right? People ask me all the time, like, how do you get in there? So that's the easy part, getting out. When everybody has their pit boxes and all that, that's talent.
Yeah. Especially at Bristol or, somewhere like that.
Dude, I'm telling you, when you pull up that big truck to Bristol for the night race, all you see is the grandstands and then
just a drop off.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's sketchy. The same thing pulling out, and then you've got that little kingpin holding a 80,000-pound trailer. It's nuts. But the worst track that we pulled into and pulled out of was help me. They closed it.
Rockingham.
Brutal. Yeah. It was the hardest one to get in here. And then Dover, when you pull into Dover, you pull in like this, and then you drop in. Is it off of 3?
Yeah, Dover's pretty tough too.
I think they've made it easier now. I don't know though.
You actually aim the left side of your trailer for a pole, so that when it drops off, it misses it and it doesn't hit the next one. It's cool.
No thanks.
So when people ask you what do you say trucker?
No.
Truck driver?
I really didn't
Skip's
like.
leaving us now.
I never really.
All the time.
Skip, where are you going?
He'd drink a whole full Coors Light. Can't handle it.
And washed it down with a purified water.
Yeah, that's what he does. It's his thing.
What was the question?
When people ask you what you do, do you say trucker?
No. I really never liked that term. In endurance racing and IndyCar, they call it a truckie. I'm like, I'm Robbie. Yeah. And here they call you trucker, or you have a handle. I was like, I'm never cool enough to have a handle. I'm just Robbie. And people go, hey, do you know Jim Smith? I'm like, no. Oh, he drives a 31 truck. Oh, Rooster. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I never really cared for that term. And sometimes it offended me because I think that sometimes people treat us truck drivers a little bit different than they do.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the tire carriers, the tire changers, those guys are cool. Dude, we make it happen.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it.
Man, you're not racing without a truck driver, though.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, the years I did it, I respected the hell out of the truck drivers, and I showed those guys so much respect because, I mean, for one, they're getting the truck and all the stuff there and back. For two, when they are home, they're cleaning the truck or helping with the car a lot of the times too. And then, like, next thing you know, you're like, oh shit, I think I forgot my fire suit or whatever. And then there's trucker. He's like, hey man, don't worry, I got your fire suit. You know what I mean? Like, he's taking care of so much stuff, but then he also sees the little stuff like, oh shit, Sean forgot to grab his fire suit. I better grab that and put it on the truck. You know, and then, cook us food. And
I never did that.
Oh, you didn't cook?
Nope.
Like,
have you seen me sweat? You don't want me making your hamburger.
I've heard some stories about some truck drivers that sweat like crazy, and everybody's wondering why everything's a little extra salty.
Not to mention when after you worked a long, hard day and you're going to get on that jet ride home.
Yeah, he gets in that truck and drives it back
across the country, man. I don't.
It is tough. It is tough. But you're one of 43 of the best of the best of the best, and my hat's off to the truck drivers for not to disrespect any other, because it's a team sport. You know, your tire changer, your tire carriers, your shock guy, your parts guy, you know, your PR rep, everybody makes it happen for sure. And if you think that anybody's better than anybody else, and I don't think there is at this level, but it is tough. It is tough to drive the truck, man, to work, to get up in the morning and meet in the lobby at 6 o'clock. And that's a whole nother story about, I don't think people understand that we get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. You're never off work. You know, you go to the track in the van, you're at the track, you drive home in the van, you're at the hotel in the van. You know, you got 4 guys in the van, you're like, hey, I want to go to Outback, I want to go to Wiener Schnitzel, I want to go, you know, and everybody's like, you have to have a unique personality to do what we do.
The van rides are one of the biggest parts of being on the road.
It is, because, you know, somebody's like, oh, it's too loud, oh, I hate that music, oh, it's too cold, it's too hot, why are we going this way, I got to stop at the liquor store, you learn how to fight your battles, so to speak, because and if you don't, if you're too pushy all the time, then the team will boot you out.
Absolutely. One boob can ruin a good car, a good car ride. Just one boob it takes to ruin a good group of guys.
And that's funny.
I get in the back seat every time, put my headphones in, and
yeah, but you can't be a nerd either. I mean, you got to contribute.
Yeah, because then they're like, "Who the hell's this guy that just sits here and doesn't talk to any of us?" Like,
I mean, I know the guys. No, I know them. You know, it's not a big deal, but I'm not in their way. Yeah, by the time I'm usually with the team, it's like halfway through the year when I'm called in as the ringer and the hired gun, so they got their own deal. And
you?
Yeah, I don't.
A ringer and what?
Big time spotter, man.
Yeah, international race winning spotter.
Oh yes, give it up.
I like that.
Yeah,
Canada.
That's funny. You talk about like the dynamic in the van, and and not to hijack the story or anything, but that was one of the big determining factors in me actually leaving racing, was hearing all those guys in the van like calling home to their kids. like, hey buddy, I'm sorry I'm missing your birthday party,
That is a bummer.
Or I'm sorry I'm missing your football game, or mama told me, you hit 2 home runs at baseball yesterday. I'm so proud of you, buddy. And I was like, you know what? This shit ain't worth missing any of that.
It is. I've never had my own kids. It is amazing what you have to give up to work 38 weekends a year.
Yeah.
And I don't think people understand what it takes. And driving the truck, I was driving the Haas truck. We were talking about Haas, and we had Ward Burton, and this guy pulls up in a big truck. Oh man, this is awesome. How do you get a job? I'm like, dude, he goes, I have 1 million miles safe drive. To myself, I'm saying, you have no clue.
Yeah.
What we do.
Yeah.
And he goes, dude, I said, who's your driver? He said, Ward Burton. I said, oh yeah, he's doing a great job for us and this and that. And he goes, he doesn't drive for you, he drives a Caterpillar. It's like, it's been on the truck for 2 years. Big fan.
Yeah,
Huge.
big fan.
Yeah.
So I see you've got some pretty big team names here. I mean, PPI, Petty's, Hendrick, Evernham.
So we went from PPI to Petty. How'd that go about?
Yeah.
So I said earlier, I was driving the 96 truck, and I'd been with Cal for 15 years, and we were going under. And it was brutal, and I really liked it back here. I liked that we could race every week at the time because you could finish 14th, and then you get to fight again next week. I thought that was really cool. And it felt more professional. Even though IndyCar was professional, it just seemed like we do it every week, like baseball, so to speak, so it felt more professional, and I loved it. So there was never that downtime. But what was the question?
How the transition
how'd you
happened
get
from
it?
PPI
We're
to
going to
Petty.
Petty next.
Oh, yeah. So we were going under. And like I said, I backed out of every track with the McDonald's truck almost. And Kyle Petty said, it was at Indy. He said, hey, do you have a gig lined up if this thing goes south? And I was like, Kyle Petty.
Sweet hair.
Can I have an autograph?
Yeah. And, that guy has a personality. And I'm like, yeah, I'm in. So,
Were you in Randleman?
Yeah. He said, I want you to fuel the 43 and drive the 43 hauler. And I was like, that was cool.
43 car.
Yeah. I was pretty stoked. So, and John Andretti was driving at the time. So I went back, and the next week I told Cal that, walked in his office, said, you're either going to hug me or punch me. And I told him, and he didn't punch me because I'm bigger than him, but he was very, very disappointed. And things were kind of crumbling around us as it was going. When I say he's ahead of his time, when we came back here, all the planes were 1900s. He brought back the big plane. He's the one that
No
had
more King Air.
Yeah. Remember those days? He brought back the flight attendants. He brought the big planes. He brought all that back here, and we bought the planes. My wife was working at Southwest at the time, and then that's another story. But he hired her to run the aviation department solely on that part. And by the time we were 13, 14 races in, we had to sell the planes to stay afloat.
Cool.
Yeah, so it was
quick.
Yeah, we were. It was a meteor. So I went to go work for them, and we rented a house. When we first came back here, we rented a house in Hickory because that's where PPI was at the time. And we rented a house because we were going to check things out before we purchased, right? And I drove for 2 years from Hickory to Randleman.
Jeez.
And then drove across the country every weekend.
How long is that? About an hour and a half?
Yeah.
Down
Yeah,
40?
Like 110 miles one way. Yeah, down 40 and then the 321 or what is that?
Oof.
212 or whatever it is to Randleman.
Golly.
It's like all the guys working at H. Scott for so long,
Yeah.
driving back and forth every day.
Do that drive up to Victory Junction, and it's pretty brutal when you're coming home. You get one eye. Well, and then you went with Front Row. No, that was Joe Nemechek. Front Row Joe.
Yeah. Yep.
How was that? How was he to
And
work
Hendrick.
with?
That was really cool. He was a great guy. And, when we're talking here with a helmet painter, Greg, right? Back in the day, Joe had a helmet that John Hunter had been a part of and had his paw print on it.
I saw it.
You did?
I've actually seen the actual helmet. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool. So.
Yeah, really cool. And back then, John Hunter was like this
Tiny.
big.
Yeah.
And now he's winning races.
And he has his own little fire suit. He's a creepy little child. He looks like a doll in that little fire suit. I tell him that all the time.
I didn't say that.
Yeah.
That's between
It
you
was
and
scary,
him.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just turn around, a little small little pit crew guy, like looking at you, like 3 foot tall. That would have gave me nightmares.
Yeah. And Joe was so I worked with Andy Houston. We had Scott Pruitt, and John Andretti was my first real NASCAR driver, so to speak. And he was an open wheel guy, but he was the first real NASCAR driver that I worked with. I learned a lot from him about what we do, because I didn't really get a chance to learn at PPI everything that goes down. That guy can drive. And not to change the subject, but all of your guys here, like, people talk crud about somebody that's running 14th every weekend. Those guys can drive, Jack.
Yeah, they're not bad.
Yeah, this is not, people talk crap about the Corey LaJoys of the world, but you see, to get to that level without paying your way there. Now it's a little bit different. Back then you had to be a man and earn your way. You can kind of pay your way through the ranks now, but all those guys could win any short track race they went to back then. I go and race, and then I come back to the boating industry, so I hang out more with that type of crowd than I do with racers. And I get people ask me all the time, this guy, that guy would wax you any day. Of extremely talented. The thing is, the top 10 they're LeBron James, You're not going to touch them. And people talk about equipment. Yeah, it's nice to have Hendrick equipment and stuff like that, but you put Jimmy into somebody else's stuff, he's talented.
Yeah, you still got to do well.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you even look at, like, what was Jimmy Johnson before he was in a Hendrick car? You know what I mean? Like, when he was driving that, what was it, the 92 Alltel car? People was like, God, this guy's a weapon.
Crashing stuff.
I was with Hendrick when they hired him, right?
Yeah, and everybody's going, what the hell is Rick Hendrick doing?
I would not have bet $1 to win $1 million that he would even make it through his first year.
Yeah.
Really?
And now look.
He's only been out of the top 10 one time for like a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's done well.
Couple championships.
Off-road guy.
Yeah. It was Chevrolet the whole time.
Mm-hmm. And Cal wanted to hire him. I remember my first Daytona 500. I was at the airport there, and I had to pick up Cal. And Jimmy said, hey, good luck, 'cause we knew each other from off-road. I said, hey, thanks, bud. And I know that Cal tried to hire him, but he was a Chevy hardcore guy, and we were Ford at the time. What if?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Good for him. I mean, he was loyal to the bone. It's
I
paid
wouldn't
off.
have to sell that plane. Right?
Ford missed out on so many people. If you look back through the history, I mean, Ford missed Jeff Gordon. Ford missed Logano, really. Ford missed.
No, they got him now.
Well, yeah, they got him now, and then they missed Chase Elliott,
Kyle Busch.
Yeah, they got Carl Edwards, though. It's all good.
Backflip.
Yeah.
It was good for a short time,
Yeah.
But also to that point, is Jimmy Johnson without Hendrick Motorsports and Chad and all those guys around him. That a lot of times in this sport, you lose sight. Like what we went back to earlier, you can have an all-star group of guys, the best in every position on one team, and it might not work good because they don't work good together. Give me a B+ guy in every aspect, and they all work together well, or even a C guy, and they work together well to get something done. If you have a bunch of A+ guys that don't pull the rope in the same direction, you're going to get a bad result. So
when I came back here, Chad was working at AJ Foyt Racing, back of the pack, qualified well at Talladega and stuff like that, but they were nobody else. And I forget who they had at the time. I forget. Virginia Cat. But he's talented, and that's what you need. That's what a team is, dude. If you have 43 pitchers, who's catching? Who's playing first?
Yeah.
You have to have a good athlete at every position, period.
Yeah, and that's where you see a lot of people talk about the 78 team and Cole Pern, and you see all these different situations. And man, really, how bad was Martin for the majority of? He had a career of mediocrity, and he's in the right situation. Martin Truex didn't learn how to drive a car overnight, but he won Dover in his first decade of driving. So that's where I think people from the outside don't realize that this sport is all just people. You know, you can have the best resources, you can be given the best equipment, but if you don't know how to use it, then you're junk. And that's any aspect of racing. So that's where people, I think, don't understand the human aspect of this sport.
Don't you think it's funny how this is one of America's greatest sports and has some of the greatest fans, the most passionate fans, but they don't know a lot? And I don't mean that disrespectfully. Like, they don't know what we do. They know what Jimmy does.
They just have the wool pulled over their eyes.
Kind of.
Well, the media doesn't. It's not about. It doesn't show all that stuff that goes on.
So how many people do you think? Okay, they've changed the rules this year, but how many people do you think it takes to put the 48 on the track every week?
More than 50.
Okay,
maybe
so
50.
You've got those 50, right, who work their tail off from dark to dark. Then you got the road crew, right? How many guys, roughly?
Well, now I don't know. 12.
8,
Okay, 12. They give their life, right?
Oh yeah.
On a bus, on a plane, in a van, hotel room, back and do it again. That is a lot of personalities, and I don't think half of America knows how dedicated and what those guys have to give up.
Yeah, I've said for a while that TV misses the boat on a lot of good stuff because they're kind of absorbed with the drivers. But that's also
you a
from
driver?
an agenda. Me? No, half-assed. But you know, I feel like they miss there's a lot of cool stuff going on pit road, especially even this year. And then there's a lot of stuff going on in the garage that I feel like is missed. But also there's a lot of people that are so secretive in this sport, like they're working for the CIA or something, that don't want to talk about stuff. I think that's always funny, people that take it so serious. I tell a lot of people, I said, you know, it's not like we're curing cancer, right? You know, and
dude, back in the day, we had our Indy cars, right? And we used to put that. Remember, they used to put that gurney flap over the black blanket over the rear fin and all that. And I was naive back in the day. Why do we do that? So that everybody thinks we've got something cool.
Yeah.
We had nothing cool.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, I don't think TV media does the road crew justice. Like, when that car pulls in and it's 1,000 degrees outside and there's no breeze in that garage, and those guys making those changes so that it can get 2 runs more in that hour and a half practice. And I think those guys, I have a chip on my shoulder, I guess, because I don't think that those guys get what they deserve, because they're the ones that make this sport go round and round. And not just, I'm not talking about just the road crew. Some of my friends work at the shop, fabricators do stuff way back. And I've got a real bad taste in my mouth for NASCAR, where they have made some money, and I'm not trying to get political, but they've put a lot of good, talented people on the street. Yeah. Remember back when I first came here?
Yeah, I was talking to a guy about that today.
Dude, when I came back here, we had guys like in off-road, like we had the body came off those are fiberglass pieces. But I came back here and guys had those, what do you call those, English wheels and stuff. I mean, those guys were craftsmen, artists. Could make a helmet out of a flat piece of aluminum, and you're like, dude, how do you do that?
Building bullets.
And I remember my first Daytona 500 test, and they put oil on the back to see, a drip of oil on the rear of the car, so they could see
where the air was going.
Yeah. I mean, and now everything. No disrespect to NASCAR, but they put a lot of good guys out on the street. That breaks my heart, because I've seen good guys lose jobs, and I've seen, that's brutal. That's tough. I don't like to see anybody unemployed.
One of the things I think you go back to and look at is when the economy took a dive there in the mid-2000s. There was a lot of teams, and now it's kind of gone away. And now everything they've done since then has tried to be proactive to keep teams around. And sometimes some of the decisions that are made might seem good for the bigger teams, but it really hurts the smaller guys. And that's what puts, ultimately, if there's less teams, there's just less people working. Because if there's less teams, there's more people available. And it's less teams, less jobs, and it's the sport has made big strides in saving money, and teams have gotten smarter, and we've evolved as humans to have machines do more. The job that I started at when I was 19 years old is now obsolete because everything is laser cut. That's why you got to stay ahead of the curve and be able to do everything on the car and pit it and just stay versatile. Because it's an ever-changing game.
That's why I had such a long career, is because I drove the truck, so I don't take a seat on the airplane going up. I don't take one on the way back. I wasn't the best gas man, but for when you can move all of those pieces and you can, when we pulled into the garage, I could change springs, I could put rounds in, take rounds in, help with the gear, change the gear, doing stuff like that. Then put fuel in it in the garage, and then I don't take a seat on the plane back. That saved a team a lot of money.
Not only do you not take a seat on the plane back, but you are productive on the way back, hauling everything back. But it's on the fabrication side, there were some great fabricators that took big hits with these bodies, and really it's the sport's in a lot different place than it was. But the fact that a lot of fans come up and ask, are still under the impression that someone's a specialist. It's we're not specialists anymore. Everybody's pulling rope in a couple different directions, especially with this roster change. We saw this weekend that you really have to be versatile, and people are going to have to sacrifice. Maybe when you were done with your job, you got to go eat a sandwich. Now you're done with your job and you're doing another one.
Somebody's got to make you a sandwich, and you eat it while you're doing your new job.
I will not be making
and I'm not trying to be negative. I want to be a really positive person, but I hope that I'm saying it correctly when I wish there was more people working. When I came back here, it was my first year, was second round qualifying and all that kind of stuff. And we had tons of people back at the shop. And I'm not saying that you needed that many people, but with NASCAR now, look at how many officials. When I came back here, there was probably 14, 15 vans worth of officials that were waiting in line with us in the morning. Now there's what, 1 4-passenger car?
Yeah, pretty easy.
Yeah.
And a bunch of cameras. What's crazy to me is that we're about to have these duels on Thursday, and there's no one that's going to race their way into the Daytona 500.
Yeah, that's the charter system that they've come up with. It doesn't pay to not have one. It's and this race is going to be, I might be speaking out of school a little bit. I'm not trying to say anything bad, but where the smaller teams used to have a pretty good advantage as far as being competitive at Daytona and Talladega, with this new rule that they have about the drop heights here, it kind of takes that advantage away. So I think that the bigger teams will be more dominant. I think that the gap in between the good teams and the small teams is going to get bigger. So it's going to be interesting to see, but
we're saving money.
The race is still going to be good. It's still going to be a good speedway race at the front.
Absolutely. I haven't paid attention lately, but I saw a couple pictures. Boy, they're squatted, huh?
Oh,
things are down.
Looks like they forgot to put springs in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're challenging. They're challenging the pit for sure, but someone's gonna find a way. No matter what the rules are, no matter who's there, someone's gonna walk away with the money. So you got to figure out how to do it.
When I first came back here, and I don't want to say cheating, but there was more gray area, and it seemed like you had more disparity throughout the top 20, as to now, right? So back then, somebody who was in like Chad, who could bend the rules just a little bit, he made that 14 AJ Foyt car run better than it was probably capable of, because he could find a tweak here and there. All you do now is make the better guys even better. Am I wrong?
Yep.
No, that's what it. Make those small changes. When you change stuff as big as they're changing it, it creates opportunity for those who have a larger staff. So say a Hendrick, they make this rule change last year in September, and Hendrick has 300 employees. Well, they're going to have guys working on it before front row is, because they only got 40 employees.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the manpower to start working on that stuff in September, where front row maybe starts working on it in January.
And I to go back to my racing thing, and I'm not trying to give myself a pat on the back, but like a lot of people go, "Oh, you worked at Hendrick." I worked at Hendrick and I worked at front row. You know what I mean? There was guys that worked their tail off, and really talented guys there, and there's really talented guys at Hendrick. Just because you're on a good team doesn't mean you're the best. There's good guys that work on those teams
everywhere, yeah.
10 through 25.
And you work harder to run 35th than you do to win, for sure.
Yeah. And that's hard to finish 25th every week.
Oh, God,
That's tough.
Yeah. Well, so then you transitioned from NASCAR back to
after
off-road racing?
I worked 1 year for Robbie Gordon. Wow.
Bitchin'.
Let's talk about the car.
You're welcome.
Because the car is a lot different than it once was, and I think it's interesting because we talk about NASCAR and the shit we'll fix every weekend here, and it gets us nowhere. But one thing I'm really interested in is is this the car race? Because I remember it, and I remember watching some of it, but I don't really know the ins and outs of it. But I see how many countries it went through, and kind of talk about what it was and why it stopped being the way it was.
A lot of that is the coolest, hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And no kidding, on the 12th day, I wanted to break my own leg so I could come home. We averaged 3.2 hours of sleep a night, and we worked for Robbie Gordon. So I drove the truck with the car to from West Coast to East Coast. We put it on a ship. We went back. We raced the Baja 1000. Then we flew over to Paris. We flew to Belgium, and so we drove the race truck and everything, towed it from Belgium down to Paris, which was like 3 days or something, and then we started Dakar. And I drove one of the chase trucks. So we went and tested in Glamis. Robbie brought a whole bunch of off-road people together. We went and tested in Glamis and Dumont Dunes, and I got in this four-wheel drive monster truck, the man, and I went and got this thing stuck 100 times, and I had two guys with me, a navigator and a co-driver, and we had to dig out, and there was a couple guys who didn't get stuck, and my two guys went to Robbie the first night of testing and said, I'm not going to Africa with this cat. I'm not going to dig out every day. And Robbie said, trust me, this guy, I've done Mexico, where you've got to drive hard but get there. And fast forward a little bit, I'm proud of this. I am the only American ever to make it from the beginning and make every single stage to the end.
Dang.
And they give you a little red, it's white and blue ribbon when you start, and a little suction cup like if you're Disneyland, it goes on the windshield, and that's to tell all the other drivers that you're a rookie. If you make it to the end, they give you a blue and gold one. And yeah.
Is that what you guys drove?
Yeah. That was the year after me. So they had legit equipment.
So is that what the truck goes in as well?
No.
That's just the chase truck.
Yeah.
How the hell do you guys get this thing over there?
The ship.
You dig that thing out.
So that was in Paris as well, and you drove that down?
This thing's huge.
That's the
way.
one that's got crew quarters and all that stuff in the back.
Has a shower in it. Has every single part.
Now, was that a Hummer that he was driving there? Or
yeah.
That was the year you were there?
Mm-hmm.
Was it black or was it orange?
It was black. We had the it was our monster one. Yep.
Okay, so I'm looking at that.
And I drove that big giant monster, the chase truck, 5,000 miles through Africa. And I can tell you, there's some pavement roads.
Yeah.
But the off-road is better.
Now, when you do that, do you see any crazy wildlife?
Dude, it was so hot there and so dry that if you bounced into something, on a beaten path, it was disintegrated. But dude, we are coming through Mauritania one time, and a herd of like 5,000 monkeys go. One time, you're driving, you're wheeling this thing.
You guys just plow them over?
I hit a donkey, dude. Windshield wipers. Kept digging.
Yeah,
because same thing. You get up like at 2 o'clock in the morning and drive 300 miles through the desert, and you can't see the horizon. You're going over those dunes just, like people say, well, the race truck, no, we're trying to get to the same place, and there is no roads.
Yeah.
And we're averaging 13 miles an hour. Robbie and the race cars are averaging like 86. So we leave like at 2:30 in the morning, and we get to, let's say, wherever our bivouac is going to be. It's usually like 8-9 hours before we get there, and then we set up the camp. And then Robbie comes rolling in, and we work on the car. We get some sleep, and then roll out. And what some people don't understand is the driver is the driver of record, same in the chase truck as it is in the race car. So they have Polaroid pictures. I don't know what they do today, but I'm a while ago. They take Polaroids and they have them duct taped to the dash of the thing so that when you pull up to any checkpoint, because we have waypoints just like the race car. And if your driver, your navigator, or your mechanic is out of their seat, Robbie's disqualified.
Cool.
So I have, do you remember Derek Cope?
Yep.
Renee, his ex-wife, was my co-driver through Africa, 5,000 miles. And I'm going to tell you what, that chick is tougher than any dude that was on that trip. She was awesome. But she was my navigator. And then another guy, Cole Mitchell, was my mechanic. And the mechanics, they work all night. And when we drive, they literally have 2 bungee cords that go to the roof of the truck, and that's how they sleep as we're rolling down the road.
That's brutal.
And there was one time we came into, I think it was Mali. You come over this rise, and there is the UN, and there's like a tribe of guys here in full, like that legit cool-looking outfits, and a crew over here. And the UN is there. These guys have been fighting forever, but there's always a truce. But we come down into that thing. There's a waypoint for us, and the UN's there to make sure that nobody does anything. And on our road book, I wish I would have brought my road book. Like, there is no GPS. Renee has to figure out where we're going. And she's saying, like, we need to go south-southwest for 2.7 kilometers, and then we need to veer off. It's psycho.
So back then, how did they pre-GPS, how did the drivers know where to go? Was it marked out, or did you just kind of have same thing? So you had a co-pilot that pointed you.
Mm-hmm. So, like, Renee...
So you get lost and go 20 miles in the wrong direction and have to turn around sometimes.
You're dead. You're just dead. There's no turnaround. You're just done.
I cannot believe, TV doesn't do it justice. I cannot believe that more people don't get killed. In fact, my year was the last year it ever went to Africa. And because it was so psycho,
and it was just too. There's cartels and there's all kinds of crazy stuff.
It's crazy, dude. There was times when we see people paralleling us with those jeeps with machine guns, just paralleling. And I'm not exaggerating. And at night, you'd see headlights out there in the weeds.
Did you keep guns on you guys?
No, not allowed.
Didn't they? When it was in Africa, they had more fatalities from terrorism.
Yeah.
Than they did from people crashing, because like the guys on the motorcycles and stuff. They'd be, like you were saying, the UN was there watching over you. I mean, they'd have people with AKs taking pot shots at the guys on the motorcycles.
Yeah, it was. I'm telling you,
roll them right off the motorcycles, kill them, or plant a bomb in the middle of and blow up, a chase truck.
No, they booby trap. They booby trap Baja too, don't they?
Oh yeah,
the fans do.
Yeah. They do that with they'll dig a hole and then they'll fill it with water or some brush or debris. But this was like terrorism.
Like bombs, like IEDs.
And there was times where we had to try to cross like a dry riverbed or some things, and it's marked on our way book that says there are bombs that haven't been disarmed out there. It's crazy. It is the most, and I'm telling you, like we pulled into, so you're out there in the weeds for 8 hours, and you can't see the horizon. You're going over dunes and roads and stuff. And you pull into town where they have a bivouac, and the bivouac every night was similar to like Concord type of airport, but it's way, way, way back in time. And as you're pulling into town, there was times when African ladies tried to give Renee her child and said, "Please take my baby."
Whoa.
Wow.
Yikes. Dude, you haven't experienced anything until, that is
a whole different take of racing there.
I'm so lucky that I got to do it. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. But Robbie is the only American ever to win a stage over there. And we were the first all-American team to win a stage there.
He never won overall, though, did he?
No.
Now,
not overall, but he did win some stages.
Where do they do it now?
South America.
Okay.
And now the chase trucks really drive on. They don't really have too many chase trucks like with what we did, because
GPS is like cheating now.
You still can't have it.
You can't use GPS?
Nope.
Whoa.
Nope. And in our car, in our vehicle, we have a red button. That's the one that you call the sanctioning body, right? And Robbie had a meeting for us thinking, if you're dead, don't press the button, because it disqualifies him.
Oh, man.
So if you're out in the weeds and you get scared because you hear guns or a fire, or you see, and you press that button, they come in with a helicopter and get you or whatever, right? Disqualifies Robbie.
Yeah.
Don't press that button.
I'm telling you one thing right now. I start seeing AK rounds hit the windshield of the chase truck. Robbie Gordon's disqualified. I don't care. I'm going home, guys. I'm not dying for this.
So really, the overall win here is you have your life at the end.
Yeah, you live through it.
We all win trophies. We go home.
And that's why they don't go to Africa anymore, because it was too crazy. Yeah. We never got shot at or anything like that. But like we have this one stage where every year in the Dakar, the drivers take off, and they do like almost, I think it's 800 miles. And so they go out and they drive. They have to spend the night somewhere along there and then drive again.
In the truck.
In their race vehicles. So they have to spend the night this night. And ours is the same way. We've got to haul. And it is like usually when they cross from one country to another, whatever you call it over there. And so we go from day tonight and drive in the day. And this is a stage that Robbie won. And in the middle of the night, we were supposed to cross this dry riverbed, but it had rained. So we see some headlights out there, and it's not always like you'd think, oh, man, I'm just going to follow people. No. So we worked our way around, and there was just stuck Germans here, and just all, it was crazy. And we got stuck, and somehow I got out, and we made it. And we were pulling into the bivouac, and so let's just say the bivouac is open from something to something, and Robbie's start time is, let's say, 8 o'clock in the morning. We're pulling into this town, like we're so far behind that it's like 7:30 or something. And one of my jobs was to fill up the shower so that Robbie could take a shower. We pull in this town, and I'm like, we're just going, because we won the stage, and we don't know, you can't communicate with him. So we don't know if he needs parts, we don't know if he needs anything. I made the decision to roll into the bivouac.
Wrong answer.
I got a chewing, and I had black eyes under my eyes. I was so tired, and he said, and I said, dude, I'm exhausted. This is like the 7th, I think it was the 6th stage we won. And he goes, I'm doing this. I said, dude, you're averaging 88 miles an hour with 30 inches of wheel travel. We have 12.
Yeah.
Passion. Boy, that guy is, I think all racers are, and crew members. And I got an ass chewing that time. Can you say ass on here?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Oh, son of a gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, he ripped me up. And I thought I was doing a good thing that we made the stage. Because what happens in the past, when Robbie had his All-American team, guys got stuck, and they never made it. So one of the times when he was doing really well, he couldn't get parts to continue the year before. So that's why it was imperative. And he said, 2 guys were driving 2 vehicles the year before me, and they got stuck, and the other one could have proceeded, I guess, but they were scared, and I'm not dissing them, but they didn't continue. And forget Top Gun. I'm leaving my wingman. We're going to service his vehicle, and I got paid. I got chewed.
Yeah.
I got chewed.
Whatever.
So then you came back and went to work for Jamie McMurray.
Yep.
No one car Ganassi. What year was that?
Actually, when I went to go work for Robbie, I thought, man, I got a decent reputation. I'm never going to get another opportunity to go to Africa again. And that's when I worked at Front Row, because
NASCAR doesn't go there.
I couldn't find another good seat. So I went to go work at Front Row, and I worked there. David Gilliland was there, and why can't I think?
Travis Quapple.
Yep, Travis. Yep. And great guys. And it was tough. And I worked there for a year, and
that's when they first started.
I think it was their second year. I think it was their.
Is that when they all wore the pirate hats at Bristol that time?
Yeah, with the long John Silver.
I'll never forget that.
Yeah, I didn't have to do that. Thank goodness.
I didn't have to do that.
So it was the next year, and then I got back on a decent team. Went to work for Ganassi, and I got.
What year was that? 2011, 2010.
Somewhere maybe 11.
Close.
And I got let go from gassing, and I was just going to drive the truck, and I did that for 1 year, and I just, like we spoke off there, it didn't sit well with me just driving the truck. And so I said, you know what, I'm done. I think I'm going to go do my boating thing on the side. And I was out of it for about 4 months, and I got a call from an engineer I used to work with in IndyCar, and he said, hey, we need a driver, our truck driver for our factory Porsche team down here in Rock Hill. And I said, nope, I'm good. And you guys don't know because you're still doing it. When you leave the sport after that long, that camaraderie, that teamwork, that, I take pride in if you're my front tire, you're my front end specialist, right? I know what to bring you when you go like this. I know, boom. I take a lot of pride in that. Yeah. And to go away from all that and just be a guy, that's a tough pill to swallow. So I was just kind of getting over. He said, dude, we need a truck driver. And I was like, nope, I'm rehabbing.
Try to clean cut.
Yeah.
I worry about that same thing quite a bit.
Dude, I'm telling you, it is, that's hard. That's a hard thing. And I'm not equating us to football players, but can you imagine being Brett Favre and getting tapped? Or Joe Montana? I don't care who you are, you get tapped.
Oh, no doubt. It's a young man's game. It always has been. Always will be.
And so they went, and I've always loved the 24-hour sports cars. Always taped that stuff to watch the 24. And I wanted to do it, but I was like, I'm trying to rehab from this deal and get over it. And they called me after the 24, and he said, hey, dude, we need a fueler. I said, I'm in. I didn't talk cash, didn't talk.
So you didn't drive the truck at all?
No, I did. I drove the truck, and I fueled the 911 for the past 3.5 years.
And how many races was that a year?
11.
And it's all, you didn't go to like
brutal season.
Le Mans or nothing?
Yeah,
No,
the biggest thing with your...
They're going this year, and I'm kind of
The
disappointed.
biggest thing with your deal is how much testing they do. Like, you test more tracks than you race by far.
Yeah, it is...
Did you go to all the tests?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. So it was pretty much a full-time job then.
I was going to say, we do 38 races here, right, and a couple tests, because even though you have a test team, they want to take their race truck and race truck driver, right? 38 races versus 11 in sports cars where the garage doesn't close and you can almost test unlimitedly. It's tougher almost. They don't call it endurance racing for the cars.
Yeah.
It's tough because at 6 o'clock when the track goes cold and you go back to the garage and then the engineers are debriefing with the drivers and they talk for 2 hours and then they come and give you a setup. You're there till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night and then get up at 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning, go do it again to do like a 24-hour.
To go chase a trophy.
Yeah.
Rough.
Yeah, my neighbor's on a IMSA team and he's gone all the time. And I'm like, you guys only race like 10 races a year? He's like, yeah, I know, but we test like every other week. And I'm like,
stop.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah. Who's he with?
He was with who's the 31 prototype car?
Oh, Action
Express.
Mm-hmm.
He was with them, and then now he just went to Penske for the Acura deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I feel like those guys work more than we do. I feel like on the IndyCar side, they almost travel more than we do because you can't. We're like on the NASCAR side, like I pretty much just a picker guy. I just fly out Sunday, fly back. Where
Diva.
all the IndyCar guys
One
and
of the cool guys.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, all the IndyCar
Rough.
guys and the sports car guys have to go early. You have to do both.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like NASCAR's trying to get there, but I don't know that they will be able to get there on this current format.
Yeah, we went like we went from here. We went and tested Watkins Glen, and then we went to Mossport, Canada. So we went back to back, went from 1 to 1, and left Mossport, and then went and raced Lime Rock. So we were gone for almost a month.
Dude.
That's crazy.
It messed with my boating.
I'm sure.
It messed with my
Which I want to
water
talk
time.
about. Robbie, when I called him yesterday, was say, hey, I need to be a podcast guest. He was like, is it lame to be on the podcast twice a year? Because he wants to come back in the summer and talk more about boating. I'm like, dude, we're going to have like a 3-part series for you because your life is just one thing after next. It's insane.
It's as wide as my waistband.
I don't know about that, but it's... you're just going, and you've accomplished so much, which is cool, man. It's hard, a lot of hard
I'm really
work.
lucky that over the years, doing what we do, some athletes out there in different sports like what we do. So I was fortunate that I hooked up with some professional athletes, Sean Murray, Kobe Makasich, those guys, Danny Harf, Parks Bonifay, and I brought them up here, and I turned them into pit crew members, and then I turned our pit crew members into water sports guys. We did that several times, and it was really cool. It was in Wakeboard Magazine back in the day. It was Fuel TV, some things like that, MTV one time. So I've been able to parlay that into something else. And there's a thing that they started, two legends, Sean Murray and Zane Swank, started a few years ago, 6 years ago I think it is, that they have an international and a Pass the Handle day here. And that day is set aside to where whoever has a boat, you take somebody out and teach them a water sport for that day to get more people involved in water sports. And I loved it so much that 6-7 years ago, I adapted it to where, for my selfish reasons, I can do this more than just one day a year.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how many times we've gone out.
We've passed the handle quite a few times, yeah.
And we do it with All Geyer and a bunch of guys, and we just have fun. But that started the Pass the Handle thing up here on Lake Norman. And we've turned it into a big deal. And
there's no weave. It's you. 100% you, man. That's cool.
In the last 5 years, we've pulled over 500 people a year for free to teach them water sports. And that is, we want to sell boats in the industry. But for me, it means like there are people, again, I'm talking about jobs. There are people out there that are making a living or trying to survive by making the stitching that goes into the seats, making the fiberglass, making the resin, people that make surf ropes, people, there's so much more that goes into it, just like our racing. Back in the day, right, we're talking there was 59, maybe 60 teams trying to qualify for the Daytona 500. That's a lot of seats. That's a lot of window nets. We don't do that anymore. So we're affecting the economy, right? So water sports in the Pass the Handle, we want to increase the people that participate in it, even if it's tubing. Okay, I'm not gonna pick on you.
Lame.
Are you a tuber over there?
Oh, dude.
Oh, man.
Tube Olympics right there.
Yeah, I know.
I thought you knew that.
That's because I cannot wake surf worth a damn.
Oh, we need to go out. We need to go out because that's what I do.
I'm down, and I've been with All Guyer a couple times, and I mean it's a struggle, but I am to the point where I can get up on the thing and I can kind of half-ass do it.
We do it so much that we've learned some really legit tricks, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm really fortunate that last year, Wakeboard Magazine nominated me, and I won the first ever Pass the Handle award from Wakeboard Magazine. That's huge.
Is that not the coolest? I have all those races you just listed off of wins and stuff. Probably the biggest.
It does mean more because, like, those team wins are super cool because you win and you win with a team, and that's what you get paid to do, right?
Yeah.
This isn't something that, to me, I'm not Jimmy Johnson or anything like that, but this is something where I can give back and I don't have to have that type of name. And it means more to me than the wins. Not that the wins are insignificant, but that is cool. And so here in the future, I'm going to be doing up to 75 Pass the Handles this summer for free. So I'm very lucky that I'm an ambassador for Mastercraft, the boat company, the factory. So they give me a boat in the last 3 years, and I have some sponsors that pay for the fuel. So everybody that we pull, we don't charge.
Including off-axis paint. That's nice.
Yeah, when can we go?
You paint.
I'd go on 75.
The water's 48.
Yeah, it's a little.
I was gonna say, let's wait till it's warm outside.
It's big time shrinkage right now. I don't care who you are.
It's been really cool because every time I've been out there, we've taken, 4 or 5 guys that never have gone before, and usually that's like if you're decent at it, which I'm not. Taking new people out there is kind of a long
so
day,
rewarding.
I guess, because they're just falling down a lot. But to see at the end of the day those 4 or 5 people get up and accomplish it, it's pretty cool, man.
And that's cool for, you've painted my helmets forever, and I'm very thankful for that. But to see your guys accomplish something like that, or a 4-year-old, or a 4-year-old surfing with his mom or dad, there's nothing better than that. Victory Lane Champagne's pretty cool, but when you have an impact on somebody's life like that for a day, and there's one story I know, there was mom and a dad took the mom out on a ladies' night, and she loved it. She brought her husband out. Then they wanted to bring the kids. They ended up buying a boat, but the 3 kids, and I hope I don't say this wrong because I don't mean to be disrespectful, but the 2 kids were pretty athletic. The other one was sitting in the bow, and he's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And finally they egged him on, and he did it. And he just wasn't as athletic as his brother and sister, and we did get him up, and he rode from here to the restroom, and then he fell, and he came up from the water, and he was like, this is my best day ever. But when he swam to the boat, and maybe I'm reading more into this, but when his brother and sister hugged him, I think that was the first time they ever connected like that. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, but it was one of the highlights of my summer.
Sure, you're not reading it wrong, man. That's
so
cool.
in the future, with Mastercraft's help and some sponsors and Off Access participating in this program, we are pulling 75 Pass the Handles this year on Lake Norman and several lakes between here and Raleigh, 6 of those. We are doing which I'm really proud of, is Wake for Warrior program.
Yeah, that's the big one I wanted you to talk about real quick.
That's real cool. So there's a program called Wake the Warriors, and this takes vets that have PTSD, amputees, stuff like that, and they take them out for 3 days, and they teach them how to wakeboard or wake surf. And because we're here in Race City, USA, and we have the connections, we are going to go racing at Victory Lane Karting in the morning on Wednesday the 27th and do team building. So we're going to do a little Le Mans racing with them. I have 2 guys that are double amputees, one a single, a gentleman that was shot in the back, and he doesn't have use of his legs, but he drives with hand controls, and a couple guys who have PTSD, and just because they have their legs doesn't mean they're not
injured.
affected. Yeah,
absolutely.
So we're going to go race at Victory Lane Karting in the morning, and then I'm hoping, Justin Allgaier, that we can go to your race shop and turn these guys. I'd love for you to come to this too, because I want to turn them into legit pit crew members.
Yeah.
For a day.
Yeah, let me know.
And do that, and then a few of us will take a few of them and go surfing that night and have some fun. And then the next day, we'll take them all out on the water, 3 boats, and teach them how to wake surf, because that's a little easier for them to do. And teach them that day, and then the third day, that's all we're going to do. So whatever they learned the day before, they'll shred that whole day.
And if not, they'll go tubing.
Yeah, you can teach them how to tube.
I'll teach them, man.
And that is something that we're blessed that we can do that. We're going to do that every year. So that's going to be an annual thing.
Yeah.
And I would love to be able to, like this year, go to Junior Motorsports and do it with Allgaier and that crew over there. And then next year, I'd love to take them to Stewart Haas Racing and take them, each
Different
year.
places,
So this is
different
8 to 12 vets every year. And this is something I would love to grow bigger and bigger, but keep it intimate to where it really matters. And Coach Greg Moran from Hendrick, right?
Yes.
So he won all those championships. He was there for 10 years, and he has a big impact on my life, because when I was on a good team, he treated me like a champion. When I was on a cruddy team, no offense, he treated me like a champion. But he got a job with Boulder Creek up in Virginia, and he does team building with athletes up there, athletic vets. And he was telling me a story one time, and he said that it's like a 3-month program, and after about 6 weeks, a gentleman came up to me and said, "Hey, Coach," he said, "I want to give you something." He goes, "I'm good. I appreciate it." He stuck out his hand and he gave him a bullet, and he said, "Coach, I don't need this anymore." You talk about not curing cancer. You talk about, dude, that's big time. When you have an impact on somebody's life, I want to do that. I want to do that. That's what my goal is now, is to hopefully help change lives. You know what I mean? And when I say that, you brought up the pass the handle thing, so did I, but that means a lot to me. But that is a team deal too. Even though I was recognized for it, I wouldn't been able to do it without guys like you, Greg, with the guys from Hendrick, everybody here who has supported me over the years in doing what we're doing. Everybody has credit in that. I think it's bored.
Done.
Yeah.
I had to stop before I cry there, because it means a lot to me to do what I do now, and I'm lucky to go for. We talked about detoxing and going to rehab, so that because you get out of the sport, this has given me a second shot at life because if I had to work at a real job, like I'm underqualified to work at Taco Bell, this gives me an opportunity to have fire again. And it is kind of a team thing where I get to meet 500, maybe 1,000 people this summer. That's cool.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, you got a big heart, and everybody wants to help you, so you got plenty of people behind you. So
Thanks, Bob.
the first time I ever met you was out on a boat, and I had no idea who you were, and you treated me
You
like
thought I was a fat gas man.
No, you treated me like I was the best surfer out there. So and I sucked. So yeah, it's been cool to know you all these years, and what you got going on is really cool.
Dude, I thank you for all that you've done for me, and the helmets that you've painted for me throughout my career. They mean a lot to me, and I watched the 24 this year, and they didn't show any of the 9/11 pit stops. And the years that you've painted my helmet, my orange helmet was on
Every
TV.
time. Yeah.
It wasn't. Yeah, they didn't show any pit stops.
It's funny, drivers come up to Robbie thinking he's another driver because he has such a good-looking helmet for a gas man. But whatever, man. That's good.
Yeah, I'm
for you.
stoked.
Heck yeah.
And now we're going to do a Mastercraft one, right?
Heck yeah, I'm down with that.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Stoked.
So where can everybody follow along at? Is it wakesurfing_gasman?
Yeah,
Your
my
Instagram?
Instagram is that, and then I have another one that's what is it called? It is called the Point Surf Club.
Yes.
The Point Surf Club.
Follow.
That is more of of our Pass the Handle one, and I started that one so that local people could follow us and sign up for events and stuff like that. Find out about the Pass the Handles, and it's funny that last year they almost booked out immediately.
Sign me up.
It's free because so everybody signs up when it's free.
Yeah, I'll go surf for free.
And then my Wake Surfing Gas Man is kind of me and what we do, and I've been pretty blessed.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Heck of a career. That was fun.
Thanks,
I've
Dawson.
always
Heck
wanted to
yeah.
have you on here just to hear, the stories, and we didn't even get to have them. So you're
Yeah,
definitely
it's incredible.
What I want to do in the future, if you'll let us, is I would love to take some of our drivers and whoever you have out on the boat, teach them how to surf, do a Facebook Live something or something like that, and then do this with them as well.
We're 100% down for having a podcast on a boat in the middle of summer. We're good with that.
That'd be sick. It's great. It's great team building. I know that your guys work into the night and stuff like that, and it's cool to hang out with people not doing. I've always taken my teammates out surfing,
Yeah.
you know, and it's cool to get away from that, not in the van, not in, and you know, oh, now I'm working with Robbie, not Robbie the truck driver, not Robbie the gas. It's cool, and for everybody else as well.
Robbie the cool guy.
Awesome.
Yeah, whatever.
Man, you got a lot of cool stuff. You got a lot of cool stuff going on. That's pretty exciting.
Thanks for coming in, man. That was
Thanks,
that
dog.
was
Thanks
good.
for inviting me. I know I was invited because all the drivers in Daytona, but I'll take it.
No.
Who are we pulling for this weekend? Anybody that's wearing an access and helmet?
Question. A lot of people. We're on the pole for the Daytona 500.
Yes, congratulations.
I'm pretty pumped about that. We didn't make it go any faster, obviously, but
That helmet was so light.
yeah, right.
You know, it
Not
gave
if-
you
not
that
if-
little,
not
gave
if-
him that little extra.
Not if you ask some team over here.
If it's a contradiction, I'll have a Troy Lee helmet on Sunday. It's not a choice, but
yeah.
and my driver has a beam helmet, so you're pretty much way 100% out of my team.
That's fine.
Wow.
Man.
I got an off-axis heart though.
Yeah.
If that.
His heart's off
Yes.
access.
I mean, I hope an off-axis driver wins the 500. That would be cool. I'm gonna stay down there. I haven't been to the Daytona 500 in a couple of years, so I'm gonna actually stay and watch it this year.
Is this not a fun fact that your helmet won every division of NASCAR?
Except for the truck.
The championship? Yeah, we won every championship last year. We won, and except for the trucks last year.
Yeah, except for the truck.
So you finished second in the trucks.
I think.
Yeah, I
I don't
think
even know
so.
if he did that. Did he?
No?
I don't think Crafton. I don't think so.
I think he ended up like third or fourth.
We went over that on
Oh.
one podcast.
Yeah.
He didn't have too much to say about it.
Yeah, he didn't talk about it. But he has won us 2 championships before, so I can't be too angry.
I'm
But-
pulling for the 12.
Why?
I gotta
Why not the 20?
feed
Why not the
my
21?
kid.
That's at least an off-axis driver.
I gotta
right?
feed my kid, and I get a bonus if the 12 wins. So that's what I'm going with.
We should. Oh yeah, off-axis should get bonuses for winning races.
I'm gonna tell on myself, but I probably won't see one lap of the Daytona 500.
That's fine. I've really not watched it that much in the past, so.
I'm pulling for Allgaier on Saturday.
Yeah, I hope he wins it. I'm not gonna say it because every time I pick him to win, he junks it or something happens. He hit pretty hard last year. The whole tire came in the cockpit.
Allgaier did.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hit the wall a ton. He said that was probably the hardest hit he's ever had.
I'll tell you, that's another great guy who's has treated me like a champion and always up for anything that we do that requires a driver. I can always count on him.
Yeah, that's how I met you. I think I was out with Justin. So Sean knows him pretty well. He was his tire guy for a while.
Yep.
Big time.
Yeah, he's one of the tiniest drivers I ever worked with the biggest heart.
Yep.
Absolutely. I'll second that.
Anything else? You got anything
That's
else
all
to say?
I got. I'm good,
Congrats
man.
on
I
not
think
winning
it's
the
great.
TQ championship last weekend.
It's tough to win when you're not there.
You were not there.
Wanted to give everybody else a shot.
Off-axis
this year.
driver won it though, so that's
It's
okay.
good for Justin. It's happy for Justin. I
Super-
gave him a Facebook hug. If you saw
Supercross,
that.
we got Kyle Peters, who was on the podcast
Big. That's
last
big
week.
weekend this weekend.
Yeah, it's his first weekend back for Supercross, so check that out for sure. And then
250 main event.
See Ken Roxon last weekend?
I didn't see one lap of it.
But
I didn't have FS1 in my Daytona hotel
his
room.
other he got hurt last year on his arm. His other arm this last weekend got caught another guy's swing arm.
Oh.
The tire, the knobbies, right,
Brutal,
is
dude.
in there sucking his arm into the.
Ripped his jersey, whole sleeve of his jersey off,
God.
dude.
And he
was-
he fractured a bone somewhere in here.
Yeah, had to have broke.
Yeah,
Terrible.
something in his hand.
There's so many of those bones. I have, not to get off subject, but my hands get beat up a little bit from changing tires, and then you learn there's so many little bones in there.
Dude, I did
You mess it up, you're screwed.
That's how
when
I
you're on a cup
think of-
team and you do your gas man, they use you for a nationwide team and they use you for a truck team. So I did a truck team. I forget what year it was, and I was helping out. Forget who it was. We did a gas and go, and you know how you talk about communication. He said, "I need 5 seconds of fuel." To me, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He said, "I'll count you down." So he went 1, 2, 3, 4, go, go, go.
Mm.
And I got hung up, and I got drugged 27 feet down pit road.
Oh.
Crushed almost every bone in this hand. And Allgaier.
You didn't
knows
let
it.
go of the can, though.
No, hell
That's
no.
what our pit coach that's the rule. If the can goes,
You
you
go
go
with
with it.
Yeah.
But then we had to come back in because the driver taking equipment out of the box and the chubby gas man. So we had to come back in. He asked me if I could top it off, and I was like,
Yeah, my hand's broke.
I'm good. Send someone else. All right, man. Well,
Thanks.
hopefully,
"Thanks for having me,
yeah,
guys.
thanks very
Awesome. It was
much,
fun."
Hopefully everyone has a good time in Daytona. Except Sean.
Yep, won't be there.
All right, later, man.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out the Off Axis podcast.
If you like what you heard, like, rate, and subscribe.
Let us know what you think.
See you.
Bye.